Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining us today. If you've got that itch to get your hands in the dirt and grow your own food or flowers, you are absolutely in the right place. But look, today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to completely cut through all the noise and flashy marketing of modern gardening gear to find exactly what you actually need to get started. No fluff, just the bare essentials. Let's get into it.
Let's be real for a second. Have you ever walked into a hardware store, confidently strolling toward the garden center, only to stop dead in your tracks because you're totally paralyzed by the sheer volume of stuff? I mean, there are dozens of shovels, 20 different kinds of rakes, and more cutting tools than you can even name. It's completely overwhelming. And frankly, it makes the barrier to entry feel way higher and way more expensive than it actually is.
Nicole Johnsey-Burke, the founder of Gardenary, hit the nail on the head here. She says, you don't need a hoe or a shovel. You just need a few small tools. That kind of flips the whole script, right? When we picture a gardener, we almost always imagine someone leaning on a giant shovel. But if you're working in a tight spot, like a raised bed or an intensive kitchen garden, those massive tools aren't just overkill, they literally just get in your way.
So here's our game plan for today's explainer. 1. Beating garden tool overwhelm. 2. The small space starter kit. 3. Manual versus mechanized watering. 4. Choosing the right sprinkler. And finally, 5. Sharpening and maintenance.
All right, section 1. Beating garden tool overwhelm. Distilling the essentials.
The absolute biggest mistake new gardeners make is thinking they gotta drop a fortune to get a great harvest. Building your starter kit is really all about simplicity. It comes down to a crucial number, 3. Almost all beginner gardening boils down to a core triad of functions. You need to cut, you need to dig, and you need to water. That is pretty much the whole shebang. Epic Gardening's Kevin Espirito admits he's got over 30 super specific esoteric tools in his shed, but when you're starting out, you really just need one solid, reliable tool for each of those 3 categories to knock out 90% of your chores.
Section 2. The Small Space Starter Kit. Precision in the Kitchen Garden.
So when we zoom in on tight spaces, think densely planted raised beds, we've got to swap out the bulky, long-handled gear for what I like to call a high-touch arsenal. Standard bypass pruners? Way too clunky in a crowded bed. Instead, grab some needle nose pruners. They come to a really sharp point, letting you get into tight nooks to snip exactly what you want without collateral damage. You'll want to pair that with a deep, narrow trowel for intensive planting, plus some twine and a planting line to keep things neat and supported. Oh, and whatever you do, do not skip the small hand rake. In a densely packed garden, leaf debris left sitting on the soil literally becomes a superhighway for pests. Slugs and caterpillars will use that debris to climb right up onto your fresh, tasty leaves. A quick sweep with a hand rake keeps the soil clear and those pests totally at bay.
Okay, for your digging tool, let me introduce you to what will probably become your absolute favorite thing, the Hori Hori. It's essentially a modified trowel that does it all. You can dig, you can scoop, and it even has a handy depth meter built right into the blade. But the best part? One side has a heavily serrated edge. Imagine you're dealing with a massive, overgrown rosemary bush. You can take this Hori Hori, plunge it into the soil, and literally saw straight through those tough, tangled feeder roots to transplant it. It is an absolute workhorse. Next up is the dibber. It looks almost too simple, right? Just an angled, pointed stick with some measurements on it. But trust me, it is a game changer for small spaces. Here's why. If you plant a seed too deep, it just won't germinate. Period. Usually, a seed only needs to be buried about 1 to 2 times its own width. With a dibber, you poke a hole to the exact 1, 2, or 3-inch depth you need, drop the seed in, and you guarantee you aren't accidentally burying your future harvest alive.
Moving on to section 3, manual versus mechanized watering, scaling your hydration.
How you tackle our final core pillar, watering, really comes down to your physical footprint, and there's a huge contrast here. On one side, you've got compact manual tools like water wands and adjustable nozzles. These give you a really gentle, targeted reach and foster this high-touch intimacy with your garden. On the flip side, you have mechanized solutions like automated sprinklers, which give you massive coverage and hands-off scaling. Now, it's super easy to look at the automated side and think, well, that's the dream, right? But hold on a second.
You see, manual watering isn't just a chore. It's actually your daily diagnostic check. Standing out there with a hose might feel a little tedious some days, but it forces you to actually observe your plants. In our source material, Kevin from Epic Gardening points out that when he's hand watering, he's physically brushing leaves aside. That's how he spots the early signs of a nitrogen deficiency on a cabbage. If an automated drip system was just running in the background, he would have completely missed it until the crop was totally ruined. Think of hand watering as your garden's daily physical exam.
Section 4. Choosing the right sprinkler. Mechanized options decoded.
Now, if your property is just too big for a hose, you'll need to scale up, but not all mechanized sprinklers are created equal. First, there's the impact sprinkler. You know the one, that classic sound of an American summer. It throws water hard and far, covering almost 6,000 square feet, but it really struggles if it's windy out. Now, if you're babying delicate new grass seeds, an oscillating sprinkler is your best bet for gentle, rain-like coverage over a rectangular area. And for truly massive spaces, the tractor sprinkler is wild. You lay out your garden hose in whatever custom path you want, and the sprinkler physically straddles the hose and drives itself along that path, watering up to 14,000 square feet. How cool is that?
To really maximize these mechanized setups, I've got a few pro tips that will save you some major headaches. Got an impact sprinkler but low water pressure? Just physically flip up the trip pen. That lets it spin in a continuous 360-degree circle instead of fighting the pressure to push itself backward. For a medium lawn, gear-driven spikes are fantastic because they let you adjust the flow from a heavy stream all the way down to a fine mist. But listen, the absolute most critical tip here, always pair your mechanized system with a sprinkler timer. A timer is literally a cheat code that saves you from a miserable 5 a.m. wake-up call just to turn on the tap.
Finally, Section 5, Sharpening and Maintenance, fulfilling the buy-it-for-life ethos.
Whether you spring for those delicate needle-nose pruners or a heavy-duty set of bypass loppers, they are only as good as the edge on their blades. Honestly, a lot of folks find sharpening super intimidating, but it's actually incredibly easy. You just grab a small, inexpensive tool sharpener, hold your shears open, and swipe the sharpener along the cutting edge. Then flip the tool over and repeat on the back to smooth it out. It's exactly the same quick swiping motion you use to hone a kitchen knife before dicing an onion. But don't just stop at sharpening. Taking literally 2 extra minutes every season to wipe off the sap, swipe the sharpener across the blades, and rub in a few drops of protective oil ensures your tools won't ever rust. It's a tiny routine, but it protects your investment for life.
So we've cut out the noise. You know the core triad: cutting, digging, and watering. You know exactly which high-touch hand tools you need for a small kitchen garden, how to scale up your hydration with the right sprinkler, and exactly how to keep your gear clean, sharp, and protected. So I'll leave you with this one final exciting thought. You've got the essential tools, you've got the knowledge to maintain them, so what are you going to get out into the dirt and grow first? Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope this helps you cultivate an absolutely incredible garden this season.